Hello, greetings, and welcome everyone to another ASL review. I believe this is the first time that we're doing it on Tuesday, but that matters not. I am joined, as always, by Brad,
Here I am.
and, as always, I am still SirMoth. That hasn't changed.
Yet.
Yet. It hasn't changed yet. I mean, I've gone through some changes. There was a time in my internet career where I was known as Toxic Croaker. Those were the dark times of an 8-year-old. But
Puberty, you know?
yeah, it's like what if you had Pokemon Toxicroak and then just added as in like you're a dude who does the action Toxicroak.
Because nothing says dude like.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Regardless, today we have three matches because there was one technical forfeit match in the consolation bracket, which means we
Yep.
only have one Static versus Peach, as we talked about this last week. And Melone gets a bye all the way to the finals because of how things worked out. But,
Doesn't decrease the prize.
no.
Prize is still a Hall of Fame entry.
Yep, so he gets that potential one match victory all the way to the Hall of Fame. Because nothing says the perfect reward like a few words on a document.
Exactly.
So, we are going to do the exact same thing we did last week since we only have three matches. We're going to show every single replay in their entirety, and because of the way things are ordered, you are going to go ahead and start us off with this first match.
Sure. Peach versus Static. The consolation bracket has a tendency to bit out of the ordinary, maybe you would say. So we see an early game teeter dance, which I mean, don't you see that in postseason play generally?
Yep.
Uh, but it actually ended up mattering a little bit. Allowed Static to get a curse up on Embor. Shame to see the Embor go down very shortly afterward. Embor's been right there with Klefki in terms of overall MVP voting. If you remember, Klefki's 22-3, Embor's 21-3. Embor came to 4 less games than Klefki. So Embor's spread arguably is more impressive.
Yeah.
The Skarmory, you know, with the sturdy, living the hydro pump Araquanid out here doing stuff. The charge on the Rotom would have actually mattered if he wasn't Diamond Storm. If he wasn't using Diamond Storm, who knows? Who knows what would have happened? But this looked pretty definitively Static's game around turn 12. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it definitely did. I honestly thought that Static was getting this one for sure after seeing the work that Embor and Araquanid were putting in.
Yeah, around early, I would say at about turn 12, Sandslash was still alive, and at full health. Rotom was still alive and had a ton of health. It looked at that point like it was a foregone conclusion, but Sandaconda said, "Not so fast."
Yep. Once that Sandaconda got set up, it was a lot harder to take down than some of
Yeah,
the early Pokemon on Peach's team.
and just faster than it needs to be, right? I mean, that's the story when you get to some of these mons. The base 100s, like, bulky Celebi and bulky Shaman, they're just faster than they need to be, right? Kangaskhan's kind of the same way, and Sandaconda, I think, similarly. It's kind of a bulky mon with a little bit of offense. It's just faster than it needs to be, and ended up outspeeding the rest of Static's team and could have killed it all. Ultimately, Peach chose to let Sandaconda go down to be able to show his fling Incineroar, but it was basically a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, pretty much. And this was a case where I don't know what the talk before the match was, but it seemed in the chat during the game that maybe it was expected to be I mean, there was probably just not as much communication as there should have been on how meme this match was going to be, because it seemed like Static was expecting a lot of memes. Peaches brought
Hmm.
a couple. But regardless of that, it was still a very interesting fight to see. We saw some really interesting stuff. That Fling from Incineroar, it didn't end up playing a huge part, but in theory, Fling 130 base power with the right TR and into the acrobatics to take down some of those important targets. I mean, we saw the Embor putting in work as Embor has been doing this entire season, so
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one way to guarantee that you don't over or under meme is just to bring a real team and play your best. So, it is what it is.
yeah, I don't think there's any hard feelings at all. I mean, if one person is agreeing to go in with a me match, it's obviously not something that they are fighting for that championship belt. But
Until Melone shows up. Wait, this
yeah,
console. I'm telling you right now, I've got a feeling I may be wrong. They may prove me wrong. This consolation bracket finals, it's going to be a real deal.
I think it will be. I think that uh, Peaches, I think once this belt, I mean, the theoretical belt of the
Hmm.
Consolation Championship, and I think Melone will fight for it too. So I think we're going to see a very real battle in the Consolation Bracket Finals.
I do as well. I think Peach, honestly, I do think it's an opportunity for him to build some confidence here. The last time we saw Peach playing in the final week of the season was in season 9, and he didn't bring home that crown. So here he is again playing in the final week of the season. My guess, although I certainly don't know this to be true, my guess is that Peach is going to go in and he's going to make sure he brings home that dub this time in the final week of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Peaches has been playing very well throughout all of the season. Has been going, I mean, relatively even as far as score goes, but in general been playing well and playing to win a lot of the times. I don't think there were any weeks where I thought, oh, well, Peaches just didn't
Yeah.
prepare this week, wasn't really looking for the victory, and that was a clean roll. I think Peaches has been trying this entire time, and it shows now, making it all the way through. I mean, this isn't a free pass like Melone has been getting. Peaches fought his way
Mm-hmm.
through to get to the final match next week against Melone, and I think it's going to definitely be a real
Yeah.
battle to watch out for.
I mean, unfortunately, Malone already decided that he was the season 11 champ. So all of this is for naught, but should still be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, Malone being the season 10 champ as well, it just makes sense that
Mhm.
he's just automatically going to claim that season 11 championship all the way the
Sure.
uh, from the losers bracket pretty much. I mean, it's the consolation bracket, but
Yeah.
he's going to rise up. He's going to rise up.
Obviously, he will. I mean, season 12 is not looking good for the rest of us. So, we'll just do what we can.
Yeah. So, anyway, as far as playoffs matches go, this week it was me versus TCP and you versus Ian, and I am almost certain that I did this ordering wrong, so I'm going to give you two in a row. Uh,
That's fine.
but yeah, yeah, if I'm giving it to you, then I'll just straight up give it to you. Take it away.
I mean, yeah, here we are, right? I guess, it's almost like we've done a dozen of these together. What's a little bit of misorder? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
What's
and
a little,
yeah. I mean, I may or may not be the one who's in charge of the order here, but we can just kind of pass that over.
well, So, but I will say, we're in the playoff games. We're looking at team preview here. You know, you you got the ground flying types similarly. We're looking at two slow bros, right? We got a base 100 over there in Victini. You got a base 100 over here, and Manaphy. we've got an odd amount of similarities going on between these two teams at Team Preview. How'd you feel about that going in?
Well, going in, I thought I definitely saw some problems for me. Like, you're saying we have so many similarities, but Slowbro versus Mega Slowbro, Slowbro can hold an item. It can do a lot more things.
Yep.
And it can keep that regenerator. Gliscor, I think, matches up fantastically against my team, and Manaphy just gets the straight up 1v1 on my Victini. So I think
Mhm.
in general it was looking to TCP.
Yeah. The one thing I would say conversely is TCP's high performers this season have been his Draco, what's this one called? Draco Zolt and the Klefki. And both of those had extremely poor matchups this week if you're looking at the Victini and the Landorus Therian.
Mm-hmm.
So what, objectively, hallmarks of this team should be Manaphy and Gliscor, but realistically, that has not been the case throughout the season. But it started off pretty good. I think you could have gotten yourself into quite a bit of problems on turn one there with the lead Manaphy Scarf Ice Beam. Something that TCB likes to do, and I think he's got to get a little bit more careful with it because he got caught with it in this particular match, and I think it ended up costing him some momentum, which momentum in these kind of matches are everything. But TCP will prep an entire set for turn one. This is a thing he does. This is not a hidden thing. This is a known thing. He does it over and over again. But he will build an entire mon and an entire set, predicting your lead just to get the early kill or the early big hit off. And he plays that game really strongly. And he does it well. I give him full credit for it. But I do fear that he's starting to be predictable with it. It didn't help him in this game. It's helped him in some games earlier in the season. But I think there's a risk there if he continues to play that game. And, he's got plenty of time to think on it. Your Deancy eventually comes in, and I, as a spectator watching this particular match, wasn't sure what was going to happen. I knew that you weren't setting up for no reason. So obviously, you're setting up and you're continuing to set up. There must be something in the works here. But I did not cross my mind Draining Kiss being a thing until it was. And then all of a sudden, things got very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'll let you continue to talk before I comment too much on that particular set.
Yeah, I mean, the Draining Kiss was fun. So it seemed like once you clicked Rock Polish, that weakness policy was almost a guaranteed. Um, so yeah, I just didn't. The Draining Kiss was very unexpected. I think it was obviously unexpected for TCP, and it ended up being the thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. There was still a significant amount of gameplay that occurred after that, but it was all, everything was off kilter. You build a team in a certain style in a certain fashion. By the time that the Yancey was gone, even though it was only the third mon to faint in this particular match, image I think in a large part was already done. Your use of Sceptile was decent. You used Sceptile against me as well. You've now used Sceptile against TCP. It does have that speed tier that you kind of need when you're playing some of your matches. Um, and you found a way to make it useful, which is good because Sceptile can be a hard mon to find a way to make useful. So I get I gave you full credit points for your Sceptile use in this match because it was abusively annoying. So hats off to you on that one. I don't think did you ever show Miss Magus?
I did not. No.
Yeah, I didn't think that you ever showed Miss Magus. Um, but all in all, it was a well played match. Again, another match where Lando T's seemed to really strive and perform well. And hats off to you. First season in the ASL. This is let's see here, your second time ever playing TCP, right?
Yes.
And now you're taking the show on the road, man. You're going to the finals.
Yeah, this match really was very interesting. I feel like there were a couple plays from both sides that maybe prevented it from being what I would call a super high level match. Uh, on TCP's end, I think that Scarf Manaphy was absolutely fantastic, and we ended up seeing that the Manaphy was Heart Swap, and TCP just kind of forgot about the special defense raises that my DNC had. Otherwise, I think he would have heart swapped that DNC and would not have lost Gliscor, and that would have been an entirely different game. Because pretty much my entire game plan was try my absolute hardest to get rid of Gliscor, which can wall so much of my team. It makes my Landorus obsolete. It can deal a ton of damage to my Victini, all kinds of problems that Gliscor would cause. And getting that out of the way because TCP didn't do the heart swap that he knew he needed to do was very large. And in general, that Manaphy was just a problem. A lot of my game plan was I had both that weakness policy Victini and weakness policy Diancie designed to boost up their speed and then sweep past all of the normal fast Pokemon. I was not prepped for that Scarf Manaphy, and I think it had a really good chance to take me down. In general, I would say that Sceptile was definitely my MVP, though. I'm very happy with the way that my Sceptile set ended up working. I was actually designed to beat a resting Dracozolt. I had Endeavor, so theoretically, the Dracozolt gets me down pretty low if I sub up constantly, and then I can take it down to like 20-30% if it rests. It ended up resting really early, I thought, at like 80%, so it didn't end up working that way, but yeah, in general, I think TCP really had it if the Gliscor was better protected. But as is, things didn't quite go that direction.
Yeah, but life doesn't happen in a vacuum. And you're playing a high level match. You're playing a semifinals match. You're playing, for everything, right? I mean, this is what we competed, 3 months to get to. More than that, actually.
Man, it really
And
has been a
so,
while.
yeah, you're in the moment and you're facing, a Diancie that's got, 8 different boosts on it. It can be hard to think through every single possible, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that. So I think the pressure of the moment certainly compounds the inability to make the perfect choice, but I don't think the choice you made was a bad one. Could have gotten a decent roll, who knows what could happen. Was good. Certainly agree. Like I said, credit to you for making use of that mon because I've tried it in the past and I've struggled with it. But I'm going to stick with my guns here on this one and say that without the DNC, whether it shouldn't or should not have worked, the DNC clearing the Gliscor, doing the damage it did, I think was the game changer in this particular match.
Oh yeah, it absolutely was. And I think one of the big things is that third Calm Mind that I got up on the DNC. I could have easily gone for Draining Kiss after getting 2 up against the Gliscor. Theoretically, that was a really, really huge 50-50 for me because I believe TCP would either switch out or try to roost again because if I had Moonblast, which is probably what TCP was expecting, then Gliscor had a chance to go down if it was just max HP, no special defense. But that was a really large risk I was taking because if Gliscor had Earthquake, my Dancy went down right there. It doesn't matter if there was attack investment or not. Between Earthquake and Toxic, I was risking everything on my DNC right there, and I feel like from that play, that gained me a lot of momentum, and I won't take credit away from myself for that, but at the same time, I did make some plays that equally could have been the game, just like the lack of a heart swap on the first turn. I knew that the Manaphy was Choice Scarf, and there at the very end, I switched in my Sceptile against it. And I wasn't thinking there. My brain was completely turned off. I switched in a Sceptile against a Scarf Ice Beam, and immediately knew what I did wrong, but I had to switch into Victini and got frozen. Had I not gotten lucky on that freeze, that could have been really big.
Yeah. No, definitely could have been. It definitely could have been. You know, who knows? We never
Yeah.
even saw Earthquake on the glitch score.
Yeah.
I assume he has it. But that being said, if this is his intended Lando counter, may not, honestly. I mean, I don't know if he talked about it later on, but it was a good match. You know, anytime you play in a playoff game and you walk away with it, you ought to be extremely happy. I don't think TCP played overly poorly. I think he made one choice that maybe didn't work out for him optimally. And I don't know if you were thinking about, I think when the Manaphy lead and I saw the Lando, almost certainly it had to be Scarf Manaphy, knowing TCP and what he likes to do. So I think maybe those two particular things lost him 2 turns of momentum. And that's really all she wrote in a game this close.
Yeah, that's definitely could be the case. I felt like I did have momentum on my side for a lot of it, even if it wasn't an overwhelming amount of momentum. I didn't feel like I had the matchup every single turn or anything like that. It still does add up quite a bit over the course of the game.
Any turn where you have a better than 50% chance of predicting correctly, that's a huge advantage. I mean, at this level, when you're playing with these kind of teams, the rosters are all good right now. Mine's objectively the worst of the group. Good rosters, good coaches. One choice where they have a bit of an advantage, it could be the whole show.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for you. Congrats to you. I'm excited to see you getting to advance to the finals in your first season in the ASL. I'm really excited for you. And I've got my Moth t-shirt on. You can't see it, but I'm hoping you take it home.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to make my best attempt to take it home. I'm going all out for the next match that I'm going to be playing in the ASL. That is for sure. But transitioning right into that to see what the next match is, we have your game versus Ian, and this was another very interesting one. When I get over here into team preview, I see a lot of, I believe, the same. I think you swapped out Wheezing with Scrafty. Am I correct on that? Is that the only change?
Yeah, I didn't bring Scrafty last time, and I did not bring Tangrowth this time. I brought Silvally instead.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize there was that. Okay. I thought you did bring Silvally last time, so I guess more of a different battle than I was thinking.
No, what I think I didn't bring. What did I not bring last time? I did not. I brought Tangrowth last time. I know that much is true. But my team was fairly similar, and his team was pretty similar as well. We were, I would say, 70-80% similar as to the first match.
Yeah, so that's something that I was really looking at the last game. Yeah, and you didn't bring Latios your first match. Or you didn't bring Latios this time, so that's another difference. But regardless of the differences, I was looking at things and thinking it was going to go pretty similar. I was pretty sure that Ian was going to have a set of Necrozma, as indeed he ended up having. But other than that, the things that I'm looking out for, your Tapu Koko and your... Oh, it starts with a C. I'm going to cheat here. Kaparaja.
Kaparaja.
very, very important Pokemon last match, and I'm really looking at this Conkeldurr on the other side, and indeed, pretty early on, a very large poison jab comes off on the Silvally, and we see a bit of a slap fight between Silvally and Type Null coming in a decent amount
Hmm.
in the early game just because of how easy they are to switch in for both of you. They're able to take a lot of hits, but without that reliable recovery, they go down pretty quickly. And after that, the big hits just start flying. And I mean, overall, that Silvally taking down a ton of Tornadus Therian, but yeah, it goes down like I was talking about. And this is where Tapu Koko really begins to shine, getting in no immunity on Ian's side, and it really is building up that momentum for you that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, the Savali play was actually kind of interesting and something you've talked about throughout the season. I know you commented on it several times, and you just kind of noted how you felt it was interesting to hear the other coach's perspective, right? Because an objective viewer would say Ian got the poison jab prediction correct. Um, but I also got that prediction correct as well. I had the conscious choice of choosing between Silvally Psychic and Silvally Fairy. I knew he would poison jab me because he's going to expect. What else is my answer? You know what I mean? What else am I swapping into Conkeldurr? But I brought Silvally Fairy anyway, knowing I would take the poison jab on the swap in because I wanted the offensive pressure. Um, the reality is he wasn't bringing Rhyperior. Like he could not afford Rhyperior in this particular match. And so I just felt really strongly that if I bring Silvally Fairy, it's going to hit stuff really, really hard. And Coco, uh, I've talked about this before. You only have a certain amount of budget in each match. And I knew that his budget could not afford to take damage from Silvally and from Tapu Koko. So I was comfortable taking that poison jab, knowing that as soon as I take it, I'm going to live it, and he's not going to welcome in the damage he's about to take.
Yeah, and I feel like that really is exactly what the story of the game ended up being. The Silvally and Kaparaja and Tapu Koko, between the three of them, there was just so much offensive pressure from your side, as there usually is. You do have a very offensive team in general, at least when you bring this sort of build that doesn't necessarily include the Tangrowth or anything like that. You can, in general, wear teams down really. One big chance that Ian had to come back was with the Necrozma here, but your roar on the Scrafty just shut that down, and after that was shut down the first time, you pretty much just steamrolled your way to victory. It wasn't a complete trouncing, but it was a pretty definitive win, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if you run a Scrafty for very long and you know how to use Scrafty, you know that Scrafty is not a naturally offensive powerhouse. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
Bisharp, right? So coming into the match, I, as similar to how you said, Necrozma's Dragon Dance seems obvious. Ian struggled with Necrozma throughout the season. It finally works out when we clicks Dragon Dance. So I felt moderately confident we would see a Dragon Dance Necrozma. It makes sense as Necrozma is as bulky as it could possibly be, that it would be weakness policy. So I just wasn't going to give him the luxury of taking a knockoff from a Scrafty and only doing like 30-40% and him getting the boost. So Roar was the first move I put on Scrafty, predicting that kind of an Necrozma. And it worked out. It played out exactly to that moment in the match.
Yeah, it definitely seems like, I mean, probably one of the best decisions you could have made. I know that during prep, you would have to be looking at that setup Necrozma and looking at ways to beat it. I'm sure you had other ways throughout your team to probably put on a lot of pressure on it and beat it in most matchups. Uh, But yeah, in general, I feel like you played that match very well. I feel like Ian played the match very well, but in general, you just slightly outpaced him. You were able to get down the Conkeldurr, which I feel was really good matchup wise. I mean, the
Mhm.
Tapu Koko and Silvally Fairy were pressuring it, but in general, it was going to be doing a lot of damage. Uh, Capraja and Scrafty are two of your, I would say, more premier this match. Maybe not as much Scrafty, but Capraja, I've said it before, said it again, in this very recording, was going to put in a lot of work. If it was Assault Vest like it was last time you two faced, then it was going to take hits from a lot of things really well, except for that Conkeldurr. So getting that down the way you did with only one kill on it, definitely very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows, what happens going forward. What I do know is I just played the best roster in the league. Unquestionably in my mind, Ian's team is ridiculous to have to face. And then he added Conkeldurr. It was just, I mean, in prep, it was a nightmare. It was a prep nightmare. I honestly, like, the way I prepped for this match is I prepped 2 months. I took a day off. And then I came back and I prepped 2 months and I took a day off because, like, there were too many problems to deal with at one time. I needed to take them in bite-sized chunks because they were just, that roster's unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the guy who gave it an A plus, and then he made so many transactions, and I think every single one of them was positive. Can't get much better than an A plus team.
Yeah, yeah. He had an A-plus team, and then he got Conkeldurr.
Yeah,
Um, it was a really challenging roster to prep for, and I really coming into the match, I knew that I had a chance just because I typically play pretty well once challenge has been accepted. But I was extremely I lacked a lot of confidence in this particular matchup because his roster is just busted. His roster is just busted. I think Necrozma is A tier. I will continue to vote for it to be A tier. I think it can do anything that you want in any capacity, and I think that's worthy of A. I think Torn's one of the better A tiers. Mega Sharpedo is insanely powerful. Um, I'm just super like pumped and super lucky and super grateful to have been able to overcome this roster because, man, it is not even counting the fact that Ian's a good coach, because he is. That roster was a nightmare.
yeah, definitely a difficult one to prep for when I prepped against him. And I'll be honest, if we're just looking at the rosters, I'm really glad that I'm going to be facing you next week instead of Ian. I'm not saying that you're going to be an easier fight, but it might not be as just intense to prep against because that
Yeah,
team really is,
yeah,
I think,
without question.
pretty easy to say the best team in the entire league as far as
In
roster
my
goes.
in my mind, it's not even remotely close. In my mind, it's not even remotely close. So knowing that I was coming in to face, a roster that I think is just significantly better than my own, and then plus, having played Ian a lot in the past, I knew I was in for it, man. And I'm excited to get the win. He could have mixed it up on me. Right here could have showed up, and maybe I get the grass on it, maybe I don't. Who knows? But it played out for me pretty well. I've continued to kind of push that offensive style. I do have the ability, like you were mentioning, to go full bulk. Like my team could do that. Um, but I've just continued to press it offensively so far, and that was a tough one, man. That was a really good match. Regardless of whether I beat you or not, and I don't mean any offense by it at all, but that was the notable win for me of the season. Regardless of what happens next, Ian and I go all the way back to the beginning of this thing, the commissioner bowls back and forth. We've never played in the playoffs. So to get to play in the playoffs, semifinals match, he's got the best roster he's ever had in the ASL history. and then to pull away from him. Um, Without question, that's the hallmark moment of the season, regardless of what happens next week.
Yeah, and I definitely understand exactly why you say that. It was a match that I was really looking forward to seeing, and I'm glad that the standings worked out in such a way that you two were able to face each other. All that stuff that was happening in the final weeks leading up to the finals managed to put you two in a course where you were going to fight each other as long as, well, you won your first playoffs match, so you made it
Yeah.
there and then made it past. So I'm glad to see it happened.
Yeah, I mean, that also wasn't a sure thing, man. I had to go through Lille, which I was not excited about. And then I had to play this freaking roster. And so now we get to do it again. Me and you.
Yep, and that's gonna be an interesting one for sure. Yeah, I am remembering correctly, our match was very close last week. Not last week. It was quite some weeks ago. That was week like 2 or 3. But
Yeah, it was week 4.
week 4.
And that's such a tough match too, because you go back to it. Um, it's week 4. I had more on the line than you did, and I wasn't losing that match, bro. Like, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Changed my whole team. I did the prep that I knew I needed to do to be able to beat what I thought at that moment was a quality coach. And he still could have beat me, but I wasn't going to lose that match, man. You know what I mean? Like, I needed that match. I was not going 0-4. So I don't know how much we can take away from that match, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel like I have definitely developed my playstyle quite a bit. I mean, I haven't said it as much recently, but I have said before in the earlier weeks of this recap that I'm fairly new to Draft League. This is something that started this summer, so I'm still learning a lot, and I feel like my prep style and my play style has changed a lot since that first match.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. It's going to be a lot different.
Yeah, and that's something that I expect. And I don't mind sharing, we do this recap thing for the benefit of the league. So I don't really care to share anything at this point. I will say how recap team finals. What?
Yeah.
But like last time, I was super confident you were going to bring the Assault Vest Lando. I knew you were going to bring the Sceptile. And maybe you choose to recycle those sets, but I don't know that would be prudent. And I don't think I'm going to be able to recycle a lot of my sets either. I think the odds are we're going to see a pretty fresh match here. We've both changed up a lot of what we were doing. I'm coming into match 0-3 and really trying to change my whole situation, compared to now where, here we are at the finals, right? So, I don't know that there's going to be a lot from that first match that's going to translate to this last match. Whereas if we battled week 11, week 12, it would maybe be different, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, I straight up don't have my team from last time. So even if I want to bring similar sets to last time, I I can't just straight up copy and paste things. So
Yeah.
I I can say pretty confidently, and this will give you maybe a little bit of insight, maybe not. I'm coming at it pretty much completely fresh. I am, of course, going to look at the previous week's videos, but I'm not going to constrain myself like against TCP. I really didn't bring my all the first time that we faced. I was really busy that week.
Yeah.
I did like 20-minute prep. I just slapped some things on there, slapped substitute on everything, and called it a day, and brought something completely different and ended up coming away with the victory because of it. And I'm not saying that I'm going to bring something different and come away with a victory guaranteed, but
Sure.
I'm going all out, and I don't think that it's going to be something completely predictable. Even I don't know what's going to happen for it.
I mean, that's the way it should be, right? I mean, you got to think ASL season is way too long. I hate how long it is. 13 weeks regular season, 3-week playoffs. I mean, we're coming into 4 months of this bad boy. Um, so it better be a show, right?
Yeah.
It better be a show. I mean, if I 6-0 you, we failed. If you 6-0 me, we failed. Um, we've been a lot of work and a lot of hours, not counting recap videos and individual prep we've done together, prep we've done with other people. There's a lot of time invested into this season. So, people are expecting a tough match, a close match, a brawl, and that's what I hope to provide for them. I don't, for me personally, I'm pulling for you. I hope you take it. But I think the most important thing is we just give them a great game.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going all out and you're going all out. And if I myself was a spectator, I would be pretty excited to see this. I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty excited to see most ASL matches, but this one in particular, I think you can keep your eyes peeled for you. If you're in the audience right now, definitely check in and see what this next match is going to be like, because I can guarantee you it's going to be wild. And don't discount the consolation bracket either, because like
Mm-hmm.
we were saying, that's probably going to be a very good match as well.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I think Malone has on his side, right, is he's been sitting here chilling, right? So we don't
Yeah.
know what a fresh set of eyes is going to do for him. He may have thought about his roster and been kind of evaluating what he wants to do. So I'm expecting a significant step up in Malone's gameplay. I'm expecting Peach to take this seriously and play his ability. And by the way, Peach's ability is a champion of a regular season, a champion in the playoffs. That's, in my opinion, he hasn't got that far yet, but that's the top end of Peach's ceiling, if you will, is championship level. And I think that we'll see that kind of a match. I think that Malone will come out and play the game of his life. I think that Peach will play to the best of his ability, and uh, if you look at their rosters, though, and you look at kind of what that match looks like, it might be better than ours. It might be better than ours.
Yeah, it very well could be.
Um, it might be. I don't know. Not the same thing on the line, obviously. So, the more at stake in our match, but roster to roster, they might be closer than we are. My roster objectively isn't great. Um, used it well, but the roster itself isn't great.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
it's a lot of mons that I love, a lot of mons that I like and that I'm comfortable with and I know how to use. And sometimes that's better than having a great roster.
Yeah, but to be fair, you're also coming at it from a very not objective pair of eyes, because I would say the same thing about my roster. I think that, yes, it's been doing well, but every single prep session I'm seeing holes and weaknesses in my team, and they're holes and weaknesses that other people probably aren't seeing, because I look at your
Yeah.
roster and it looks fantastic. Offensively, it's great. Defensively, it's great. You have so much variety of stuff that you could bring that could be really hard to prep against. Still, volley in particular covers up most holes a team could have.
Yeah. I
So,
love Silvally. I love Silvally. Drafted in any league, any game, any match. It doesn't matter. I can make it. Silvally's amazing.
yeah, with that base 120 guaranteed to be stab multi-attack, it's hard to go wrong.
Yeah. They're going to have to move it to B to get me to stop drafting it.
Yeah. But regardless of that, do you have any finishing words for the audience out there?
No. I mean, the thing I would just say is next season's the end, right? Or next week, excuse me. Next week is the end. Next week is the show. If you've watched with us all season long, you got to come back next week, right? I mean, if you are hyped for the finals, consolation or final or the finals match, make sure you let us know. Put a comment in there. Let us know you're looking forward to it. I don't know, man. Maybe we do something special next week. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
we
we'll
get a
definitely have to see. With only 2 matches to cover, we might as well.
might bring in somebody, right? Maybe bring in a guest commentator or two. Um, oh, we may do something big next week.
Yeah, we shall have to see about that one. But regardless, that has been our... Oh, dang, I messed up the slide again. It says wild card on the second one. We have finished our semifinals recap, and I hope to see you guys back next week. I won't actually see you, but hope you'll be here. Hope you'll join us. This has been Brad and I
All
signing
right.
off.